Executive Suite with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi.
Bananagrams. You know the game, but did you know it was created in Rhode Island? The late Abraham Nathanson was 76 years old and frustrated by the slow pace of Scrabble when he dreamed up a new word game. The Cranston resident's invention was an instant hit, and his family's company has now sold millions of games in 31 countries. A crucial partner in the effort was Abe's daughter, who's now the top banana. This week on Executive Suite, the CEO of Bananagrams, Rena Nathanson. Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nesi, and a very fun topic this week, maybe something you've all played as you enjoy your summer vacations. We're talking about Bananagrams. And Rena, thank you so much for being with me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
So I want to start off and talk about your dad, about Abe. As we mentioned, they're 76 years old when this idea came about as part of a family, playing game, being a little frustrated with Scrabble. But give people just a little sketch. What was he like as a man?
He was incredible. He was the funniest person I've ever met, even still to this day. He could make you laugh about anything and everything became a game. Every single solitary thing was a creative project or a game, and we just went from one laugh to the next from the moment we woke up to the moment we went to sleep. So I was very fortunate.
Reading about him, he had a couple funny lines. And he said when he and his brother started a design studio, Abe gave it the slogan, quote, "We work cheaply because our work is inferior."
Yes, and he was very proud of that.
And he thought of that.
He was very, very proud of that.
So, we want to let people hear from Abe himself. We actually, my producer Nick, looked into the archives and we talked with him. He passed away in 2010. The year before that, though, my colleague Susan Hogan profiled him in Bananagrams. We did a story about that, and we've pulled the video. It's in standard definition before HD, a little older, but we want people to hear from Abe himself. So let's take a look at this footage. 2009, here's Abe Nathanson talking about Bananagrams.
Can you spell success? 80-year-old Abe Nathanson sure can, and he'll probably beat you at his own game.
Tickets are with TIC.
Bananagrams, the game that has really taken off, was created at Abe's kitchen table overlooking Narragansett Bay. After a 2-hour-long Scrabble game where his 11-year-old grandson beat him, Bananagrams was born.
I said, Aaron, 2 hours, we need an anagram game that's so fast it'll drive you bananas.
Just 3 years ago when it started, they sold about 18,000 units or so. This year, over 2 million and counting.
Part of Bananagram's success is Abe's stubbornness not to get too big, even though some of the major toy manufacturers have offered him millions to mass-produce the game. Abe says, no thanks.
I want to maintain a level playing field. I don't want to see the little toy shop get squeezed out because he's selling it for $14.95 and Walmart has it for $9.95. It's not fair. It's not, I don't think it's American.
And again, that was my colleague's Eyewitness News reporter Susan Hogan reporting back in 2009 with the late Abe Nathanson, who founded Bananagrams. Clearly a very special guy.
Awesome.
So one thing people ask about Bananagrams, and you were there from the start with him working on this, is people said, isn't it just Scrabble? They see the little tiles, but clearly, as he said there, it's very different. What is the difference?
We get that all the time, and basically it's the antithesis to Scrabble. They sort of complement each other, where Scrabble is a real, if you're a purist, you play one-on-one and it takes a couple of hours. Bananagrams is all-encompassing, all ages at the same time, no turn-taking, no pencil, no paper, no board, very portable, and it's a very fast game. You can play one hand in 5 minutes. So they each have a place, but this is just a little more user-friendly.
Yeah, absolutely, and maybe not a 2-hour commitment of time.
Not at 5 minutes. That's all you need.
So I want you to tell us a little more in detail about the origin story of Bananagrams. The story at your father's beach house in Narragansett, the family's beach house. How did it start, and then how did it get from a fun idea to a product that could be sold?
We played around with a lot of different bits and pieces of all sorts of games and rules, and the kids helped out, and we sat and we worked out the rules that, not to be too difficult. The kids even said, well, I don't know if you know how to play, but when you dump a letter you don't want, we originally said, take X amount, and the kids said, no, that's too many, take 3. They helped as well, so we knew it worked with everybody. And then we had it as a game, as a family, just played it with friends. And then after a little while, everybody said, you should really do something with this, it's really fun. So my mother actually made the first prototype banana-shaped pouch, which was great. And we had 50 made locally. I mean, we literally ironed
just
on
50,
the load.
50.
50. We ironed on the logo, you know, and made them, stuffed them,
Truly
did it.
homemade.
Homemade, total cottage industry. I took 25 back to London, which is where I live some of the time, and my dad took 25 to a local store in Rhode Island, and they sold out equally really, really quickly. So we said, okay, let's have 500 made. So then we looked at sort of having a manufacturer help us out. We had 500 made, it did the same thing, 250, sold out very quickly. And then at that point, I heard about the London International Toy Fair, and so I said to my dad, let's do it. I'll take a small stand. They have an area called the greenhouse for new items. So I took a teeny little stand, literally a little booth, and we haven't looked back. We were taking orders hand over fist immediately, the whole 4 days of the show. And we haven't looked back since. We're very fortunate.
So it really took off after the London Toy Fair, as I understand it, and then got an award from the Toy Industry Association in 2009. Were those key moments for you?
Yes, they were. We launched in 2006 in London, 2007 in New York, at the New York International Toy Fair, and then 2009 we were again lucky enough to win the Game of the Year award.
So give people a sense of how big it's gotten. How many? Do you know how many pouches are out there at this point?
We have sold probably to date over 6 million games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you surprised? Are you surprised?
Floored.
Floored.
Yeah,
so yeah, when you were having these conversations with your father and your family, did you see as soon as your mother made the pouch?
No, we thought it's a good game. It'll, you know, people will like it. But the way it took off, and it sort of went by word of mouth as well, which is really nice. And the independent stores were, and still are, incredible supporters of our game. And at the beginning, that's really where our bread and butter was, with the independents. Yeah, it totally took us by surprise.
And what did your father, obviously, he lived till 2010, so he saw that it was a hit, right?
Yes.
He must. What did he think?
And he was there at the awards. Yeah, we were both like stunned. We just were like, okay, let's just keep doing what we're doing, because whatever we're doing, it's working. We're not quite sure what we're doing, but we're doing it. So, and we just kept rolling. Yeah.
What one thing that's interesting, you've talked about this in other interviews, getting it into the big toy stores, the big box stores, big retailers, was not easy, even though it was clearly a hit from the start. What was the situation with them?
It was tricky. All the feedback we had from the very beginning for the first few years was, it's not in a box and it's not in plastic. We can't stack it, you know, and we can't sort of readily just, you know, put it on a shelf. So, and it's unprotected. But the whole thing for us is all of our games are in fabric pouches and very tactile. We want people to feel them, touch them, squeeze them, lift them, hold them. And so once you put it in a box, that's not going to happen. So we were adamant. And then the independents saw the sense in that, so they were very, very receptive, you know. And we have lots of different display options that, you know, we're very happy to help any independent, whatever their requirements are, we'll help, you know, find a solution. And after the indies started to sell and sell and sell, and we got really good reviews and started winning loads of awards, the mass market then started to sort of take note and say, okay, we'll do it your way, let's, you know, have a few. So, and yeah, and that's how it happened.
It's been an exciting moment because they had to come to you.
It's fabulous, because we were going to them, but we just couldn't we just couldn't find a meeting ground.
That would work for them. So they came to what you decided.
They just wanted to put it in a box or behind plastic. We're like, no, and also, from an ecological point of view, we all hate extra superfluous packaging, cardboard, bubble, you know, all of that is horrid.
Plastic wrap.
Yeah, trying to get things out is my pet peeve and was my father's pet peeve. So,
and so you still haven't changed that?
So we haven't changed it. No, we haven't. So we're very proud of that.
All right, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk much more with Rena Nathanson about the other products, games Bananagrams has now, and more about the story of how this company grew from a table at a beach house to a big company here. So we'll keep talking about it. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nesi, and this week we're having a very fun conversation about Bananagrams, the hit game. Sort of took off. It was viral before things were said to go viral. And we're talking with Rena Nathanson. Her family, her late father was sort of the inspiration for Bananagrams, and she is the CEO of the company based on Allens Avenue, right?
Yes.
Here in Providence. What's done in Allens Avenue in that location?
Pretty much everything. It's the headquarters hub, you know, nerve center of what is Bananagrams. We have our offices there, which is all administration, finance, everything. And then just down the street, we have our warehouse. So we do it's our DC. We do all our shipping from there as well. So, you know, we were very lucky to find two buildings right next to each other, you know, our own little yellow corner of Allen's Avenue.
How far afield are you sending Bananagrams pouches and things for
Globally.
Globally?
All over the place, yep. In some cases we ship directly from China. In other cases we ship from the Allen's Ave depot. We have, it's in many different languages, 7 or 8 different languages now, just on Icelandic, which is very,
Icelandic?
yeah, believe it or not, it's just being made. Yeah.
But in this case, to go to a different language, obviously you could play Bananagrams with spelling a Spanish language word or something potentially, but you need to, if you're in Iceland or Israel or something, you need a whole different set of letters.
Yes, we have different letter tile molds per language. So if it's a Roman letter, like for French, it is, but it is the same letters but different breakdown. Spanish, we do have the double L's, the double R's on one tile, you know, so it's much easier to play. We have French, Spanish, German, Italian, Norwegian, Icelandic, Swedish to come, Hebrew.
Hebrew.
So that's 8.
And do you find, is the appeal the same regardless of language? Is it mostly an English language phenomenon? Do people enjoy it just as much in a different language?
I think they enjoy it just as much in a different language. I mean, of course, English is the global language, you know, but what's fun is you can play it in 2 languages at the same time. In other words, even with the English version, I could play you in Spanish or French. I would do my English grid, you could do your French grid, and then we'd exchange at the end, you know, just look and inspect each other's tiles, and you learn another language as well. So it's a fantastic tool for that.
Interesting. Is anyone using it for foreign language teaching?
Yeah, a lot. Yep, yep. The game is being used in a lot of schools. I mean, that's one of the fundamental sort of goals for me, is to have it in every classroom across the country, across the world, because it's a great educational tool and really improves literacy. And we've had a lot of feedback from teachers and adult and children and special needs that people who hate word games and are intimidated by word games love Bananagrams. And I think partially, I've thought a lot about it, and we've spoken a lot with educators. It's because it's fluid. Once you put a word down in most other games, you have to stick to that. This is constantly moving around. It's very, very fluid, so therefore it's very user-friendly and not intimidating.
Do you think it's also perhaps, I think Scrabble, I want to say, was invented in the 1930s or 1940s. Do you think Bananagrams might be a little more in tune with the faster pace of life in the 2000s?
Absolutely. All of our brains are moving so much faster, and we're multitasking, you know, doing so many different things. So therefore the brain does process, you know, if I move that letter, I can move that and that and that and that. Absolutely. You know, and also just the time people have for leisure activities is very limited now. You know, we have TV, we have all the devices, you know, the digital world just takes our time. So I think that limits people.
I liked you. I believe in England, where you, as you said, you lived for part of the year. I think you got an award, something like Entrepreneurial Mum of the Year, right?
Mumpreneur. Yeah, mumpreneur. Mumpreneur. Yeah.
Did you have a business background before you did this?
No.
No. So that this has all sort of been organic.
Yeah, very organic. And I'm learning as I go, and I'm the first one to ask lots of questions of anybody who will help me, because I'm learning every day different things.
What have been some of the big highlights, the moments that have been really special in the sort of the journey for you and your family in this game becoming a worldwide success?
I think winning the Game of the Year, that was fantastic, and then that sort of dominoed into us winning a lot of other awards in a lot of different areas, which is interesting, including education and just all sorts of different categories. And, you know, on the fun side, just being mentioned in like Time magazine or Vogue, or, you know, having great celebrity endorsements, and also being very organically, you know, played on Modern Family, or, you know, just showing up and being on Saturday Night Live in a skit.
Yes.
Awesome. We had nothing to do. We were watching. It was just like incredible. That to me was like, we've arrived.
I believe the joke was,
we've arrived.
Yes, that's awesome. Bananagrams in my pocket, but I'm also glad to see you.
Yes, exactly.
Seth Meyers,
but that's like, for us, that's the pinnacle. One of the things that, not the last thing, but one of the things I'm gonna do before, you know, I have to do it, is get on Family Guy. That is if we get on Family Guy, come on. Seth MacFarlane, if you're listening out there,
I know Seth MacFarlane's a loyal executive sweep
Rhode Island, game company. We love your show. Come on.
Put it all. I'm sure your son would love that
awesome.
too.
We love it. We love that show.
And now, do you still play the game?
All the time.
All the time.
As ridiculous as that is.
You're not sick of it?
No. No.
How about your kids?
No.
Just still love it.
They still love it. My son's now at college, University of the St. England. But it's a great college game.
And I believe
Fantastic
I saw a
college
photo online of the cast of Downton Abbey playing it on the set.
That's incredible. Yeah, and that was totally organic as well. Yeah, it just came out. I think, I know Dame Judi Dench is a huge fan. And
how'd she find out about it?
Her daughter gave her the game. And then we found out about a funny story that she was filming the hotel, the hotel movie.
I know which
sorry,
you mean,
I
yes.
can't remember the name of it. Sorry, Dame Judy. And they were filming at a hotel in India where all the rooms were around a moat. And she was filming with Maggie Smith. And so every night she would swim from her room across the moat to see Maggie, and they would hang out. And one night she showed up and she didn't have bananagrams, and Maggie Smith said, where's the bananagrams? And Dame Judi Dench said, I'll just go get them. So she dove back in, swam, got them, put them on her head with a handkerchief like that, tied it, swam back across with these bananagrams on her head, and and they played all night. And I know that's true because I have since been very fortunate to meet Dame Judi Dench.
And she
said that absolutely true. Yep.
That is a true fan.
Yeah,
that is a true fan.
fan.
I love it.
Yeah,
All right,
she's
we're going to take another break. We come back. We're actually going to talk a little more about Dame Judi Dench and some of the other things they have in the works at Bananagrams. Be sure to stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. We're talking today with Rena Nathanson. She's the CEO of Bananagrams. You may know the game, but I don't know if you knew it was based on Allens Avenue here in Providence. So we're talking about that. And, we were talking just before the break about Dame Judi Dench, being the famous actress, being a fan. She's actually involved with a book that's coming up related to this, right? Tell me about that.
Yes, we're really excited. We are working with a publisher, HarperCollins, who I'm sure everybody probably knows, to do a sort of book, a Bananagram book, How to Become Top Banana, at Bananagrams and other word games. It's a fun fact book, and there's word lists and tricks and tips on how to win Bananagrams and other games, strategies. And she's such a fan that she agreed to write the foreword for it. So we very happily, said yes, please. So that's fantastic.
When will that be coming out? When can people look for it?
We're going to have the samples off press hopefully this week or next week in our hands, and they should be hitting the stores in the autumn.
So in time for Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a retailer, I'm sure that's very important.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
And but also Bananagrams, we have here some of the originals, also the Espanol version right here. But there are a bunch of other products, the ones further across on our table. Tell me about some of the other games you folks have.
Okay.
Maybe identify by color.
Yes, absolutely. After the success of Bananagrams, we were actually asked by quite a lot of people, educators as well, do you have something for much younger children? So we worked up the Pairs and Pairs for very young preschoolers, and that steps up to Apple letters. They're all tile word-based games. Pairs and Pairs has a lot of exercises in it that build up to games. That's that one, the green one, in the pear shape.
There it is.
And Apple letters, you build a word worm. Okay. So in each, there are different levels of gameplay from very young to adult play. So they're very all-encompassing, and they've been doing really, really, really well.
Yep.
We also have Fruit Dominoes, which is dominoes but with fruit instead of dots, which is, you can play the classic game of dominoes, but it's just more fun and prettier to look at, and all ages love that as well. The classic, you get the old traditional dominoes players, older gentlemen sitting for hours playing dominoes, they love it, and preschoolers love it too because of the pictures.
Yeah.
The graphics make it really, really fun.
How much are you doing R&D? Is that a big focus for Bananagrams? Keep coming up with new ideas for games?
It has been. Right now, I'm sort of slowing down on the R&D. I want to really perfect what we've got to get those out there and have a really strong customer base for our brand and the different games that we have. And so that's really, we have a couple of things up our sleeve, but I don't want to say now. I can't give those away. Right? Yeah, we have a couple of things.
One thing that's interesting, there is so much talk in recent years about the rise of digital games. A lot of money going into that sector. Obviously, everything from Angry Birds, Candy Crush to Halo and classic video games. But your father, as we saw there, and you, I know, are strong believers there will always be a market for physical, tactile, around the beach house. Why do you think that? What do you think is the appeal of that?
I think even more now so than even 5 or 10 years ago, people are getting tired of that insular digital, everybody doing this and not looking at each other, talking, making a joke, and actually engaging. There'll always be a place, again, I think there's a real resurgence of that as well, of family time, of you know, the grandparents with the grandkids, with the parents, all the generations, all together around a table, actually talking.
Yeah.
And that's what this does. It brings everybody together around the table.
Do you, the flip side of that, I think you had a digital game for a time, but you decided you didn't like it. Why, and you got rid of it. Why was that?
It wasn't being managed and quickly enough to keep up with all the digital changes. You know, we're still exploring the possibility of having a game. What we had, though, with our digital game, which I still, you know, it does encompass all generations and people playing live time. In other words, if I live in Rhode Island and my grandmother is in California, we could play live with each other and have a chat at the same time, even though we were 3,000 miles apart. So that's what we're looking for, even in our digital game. Not turn-taking. A lot of the digital games now that are globally played are turn-taking, so you have to wait for the next.
Words with Friends.
Yeah, they, you know, and they're great games. But this is, the beauty of this is it's simultaneous play.
I see.
So we really, I'm not going to make it digital unless I can absolutely mimic that. If we can't capture that, then it's not worth it. It's not our game.
Now, you live in London, one of my favorite cities. Is it difficult to be CEO of a Providence-based company living a lot of the year in London?
In a word, yes. It's very, very challenging. But thankfully, again, back to the digital world, thankfully for all of the, you know, Skype and FaceTime and phones and everything else, that's how I run it. I Skype all the employees, all the team have Skype on their desks, and I literally sit in my desk and I Skype them all day long, and they Skype me, and wherever I am, my phone goes off, hello, you know, and it's fantastic. So it's doable. It's challenging. Yeah. It does have its challenges.
A funny irony in the person with the tactile game using a digital management tool there.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've gotten offers. Your father even referenced it in that story from 2009 to get bought out, to be, you know, I'm sure you could get quite a sum of money for this company at this point, but you're still running it independently. Would you consider selling it? Would you consider that?
Not at the moment, no. I mean, there are too many things I would like to see to fruition, if you can pardon the pun. You know, as in the name of my father and the legacy that is Bananagrams, with my children and the rest of the family, really there are certain goals and achievements I want to see before I step aside or step down. And my children are very keen to be part of it as well. They're quite young, 19 and 16, but they're very keen. So I'm not quite ready yet. Not sick of it enough yet.
And you're still coming back to Rhode Island, despite
yes,
your
I come
back. Your
back
mother's
a
still
lot.
here, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
my mom is still here. I have 2 sisters and loads of friends and family. My son is now at college in Boston, so that brings me here quite a few times a year. And I'm fortunate enough to still have the house where it was invented, so that's where I stay. And yeah, it's challenging, but it works somehow. I have a fantastic team on Islands Avenue. The team there are phenomenal. I couldn't ask for a better team, and they're great.
All right, that's all the time we have. I want to thank Rena Nathanson so much for joining me this week on Executive Suite to talk about Bananagrams, and you can buy it in your local independent toy store. I know you've heard, but
and
other stores as well. Exactly. So if you missed any of this episode or any other episode of Executive Suite, you can catch those on WPRI.com. We'll see you back here next week on Executive Suite.